Okay, this is the video feedback for Jack Hurrell for part 1 of the animation simulation module. Okay, Jack, I've had a good look through all your material here, but let's look through it together and get a bit of feedback as we go. Now, we'll start off with the full figurative range of motion. We'll just play that through. One thing I did like about this is the fact that when you're working your way through it, you're using different camera angles to showcase things. That's always useful when I come to mark things. I think I perhaps like to have seen a bit more of a range of the motion of the character, though, maybe a little bit more about the fingers and so on. I mean, you can see some there, but perhaps a little bit more emphasis on that. Anyway, but let's go through it piece by piece. It looks like you've got a reasonably good weight in there of the mesh. There's not too much crumpling, although as the bend occurs, there is this kind of slight dip, this kind of loop element here. I would have kept the volume of this and the volume of the upper leg, the thigh area there that comes down towards the knee, back of the knee, and maybe just had them meet a little bit sooner in the middle there. I think that would have helped. But the full bend is very, very good when we get there. We'll just move on to the next section. Yeah, so this seems to work reasonably well, but it does look like it's pulling slightly the side of the top here, maybe overly pulling it. I think it's a bit exaggerated. Yes, the material would pull it. It's clothing. It's fairly, not very tight, but it's kind of, to the skin, let's say. So I would have expected that probably not to pull quite so much as it does there. Also, there's just something slightly unnatural about that movement there. Now, you're not being marked on the animation side, of course, but when you are animating it to test it and do the range of motion, try and keep things accurate. Something just looks a bit odd about it. It's almost like you've perhaps gone slightly beyond the natural limits of the shoulder area there. Maybe you should be coming from the clavicle. Just looks a bit like that to me. Okay, some good use of the hands there. So we do see some. I think it does you credit that you've kept the hair in. I did say in the tutorials, if you want, you can get rid of the hair off the model, because I know that can be an issue for people. We didn't really look too much at kind of wigging of hair and things. But you kept it in. It works reasonably well. It kind of flows across the body and things, which is good. Of course, if it was real hair, you'd expect it to kind of dangle down here rather than kind of hug the figure as much as it does there. But don't worry about that. You weren't really required to do that anyway. Now, this is an issue here, because that's something that I would like to see you work on. Trying to fix any of these kind of penetrating elements where the skin's going all the way through. In fact, two layers of skin, rather two layers of clothing there is going through. That's something you should be able to fix. Isolate, for example, the little jacket element there, and just paint out the weight, or paint further weight in for that. Or on the skin, just paint back a little bit of the weight of the human skin there. One or the other. I think for your range of motion, although some of the camera angles work well, I'm not sure this one does. I would like to have seen this maybe from the front and then from the back and maybe from the side, because there's a lot of movement there of the hip and probably part of the spine as well. I'd like to have seen a bit more of that in there. The elbow seemed to work quite well when we saw the bend there. There wasn't too much crumpling, but again, I'd like to see a little bit more with the hand, because that is part of the range. Now, the next clip here, I think we've got, if I'm not mistaken, I'll make sure we've gone into it, is a figurative rig controller. So we're going to have a good look at that. This is often the most telling thing. We'll see what you've got. Okay, so you've got a good foot controller there. It works quite nicely. I like that. Again, that would have been good to maybe to see from the side as using the controller. But that's certainly a good inclusion. That works well. Nice kind of twist to the legs. Let's get that as well. I'm pleased you got the finger splay controller in there, because I think it's an important one to have. Or it actually further options. Yeah, I think the one thing I would say as a little bit of criticism of that, though, is I would have probably allowed it to be a bit more exaggerated. I know that you're keeping within the natural limits of the fingers. And when you go into your expression, you could always tweak it, add an extra few decimal points or something, or add an extra a quantity to the amount it can rotate. But that just seems like a little bit too few degrees rotation, I think. But it does work well. The controls look good. I'd like to see the camera move up a little bit closer there for the head and the face, because I don't see too accurately in that clip just how well this is skinned around here, although it does look very good. That works well up to sort of the T-pose, but do remember that when the arm starts to rotate above the kind of the horizontal, it should be rotating from the clavicle as well. But it does work well for what we've got there. I think you've done a very good job of this, looking at it. Again, push the camera in close, let's see this. You obviously put a lot of time and effort into this and done a very good job of it as far as I can tell, so really showcase it, showcase your work. Yeah, this looks like a very, very good to excellent bit of rigging that you've got done here. For something like this, it's really important because you have removed all the clothing, so we can actually see how impressive the rig is on the underlying mesh there. I'm really pleased with that. Okay, so I actually think that's excellent. I think it's very, very good. I'm pleased to see that you did have a go at putting some foot controls in there. It just gives you that other option, that other set of controls for that. I mean, you could have set this controller up so it was maybe in a little panel down the side in Maya. You could have set that as a little controller there, or you've done it here, which is fine. It doesn't really matter. I'm just saying that there are options there as well. I think you've appropriately put together the bone structure, the rig. Everything seems to be working reasonably well. I know in the other view that we saw, the kind of the animation view, there were some issues with the backs of the knees. That I think for you would be a quick fix. I'd like to have perhaps seen you demonstrate the roll bone for the arms. That was a suggested extra, I know, but I didn't see it in there. Maybe it's in there, but if it is in there, then you should really be demonstrating that to us. Okay, so I think overall that's very, very good to excellent, that bit. I like that a lot. Okay, so let's move on to the next bit, which is the facial stuff. Okay, just looking at this bit here, it just seems like the fall off's not long enough really. It doesn't kind of fall off far enough down the neck there. If you start to rotate your own neck, which I'm doing now to demonstrate to myself if nothing else, this element here I would expect to stretch, you know, all the way down to the middle of the neck rather than just kind of stopping there. This looks very dead, this bit, because I expect that rotation to be occurring, a gradual fall off around and down the neck. Okay. Very harsh. That way looks pretty good. It does look like if we saw that from the side view there'd be a bit of crumpling going on there. It looks like in the render I could just about see that. Okay, so everything's functioning. So technically speaking everything works there. There's some good facial expressions. But the thing I would just mention is, and it's specific to the mouth open. Let me just get to where the mouth opens, like that here. Let's just pause it when the mouth actually opens. Okay, so yes, you've got the jaw rotation working well, but I mean, if you consider, you know, just look in a mirror, do the same thing, open your mouth and notice where the corner of the mouth is. This is not completely flat, and this is not completely flat, and then there's just a little fall off here and here. It makes much more of a kind of an oval type shape, so that the corner of the mouth comes about down here somewhere. So the top comes and joins about there, the bottom comes up to join about there. This is much more kind of rectangular, should be much more oval. Okay. Looks like this, you know, you've done a good job of the blink there, but it looks like there might be a little bit of a rough surface that they don't quite meet or something. Yeah, nice brow reductions. It looks like the eyes work well. Anyway, let's have a look at your control system and see what we've got in there. Okay, so you've got a good kind of head rotate control there, which is good. I like to have a separate controller for that rather than having to look for the bone in the head type thing. So that's a useful thing to have. Okay, so they function nicely. You know, I always think, I know it seems like just such a little minor thing, but just having the movement down blink the eyes and then movement up open the eyes just makes so much more sense to me than the opposite. So it's a sensible way of approaching that. Okay, that's a good set of controls. I mean, I like the fact that with your control also for the brow there is, you know, if you do lift it up, it raises the brow. If you do lower it, it lowers the brow. I've seen some people do this, not so much this year, but in previous years, and basically they've got neutral position, and then they've got raise, and then back to neutral position. There's nothing which takes it below neutral to kind of that more kind of scowly frown sort of look. So it makes much more sense to have a lift and a lower. So that's good. I like that. I'll just move forward. I am pleased that you've moved up a little bit closer for some of these, because it's quite good to be able to see the control system and also then see the effects on that. So it looks there to me like you've also put in some sort of corrective morphs for the skin tug of the eyes. I'm really pleased about that, because it just adds so much more realism to the thing. It really does, and it's not so tricky to do. It's really not that tricky to do. So I'm pleased that you've had a go at that. And again, you've got this kind of corrective morph where the lips meet. I just wish you'd have just tidied up the mouth open a little bit, and that would come from visual reference. Stand in front of a mirror, open your mouth, look at someone, you know, find videos or still images online of different kind of mouth poses and things. Right, I like these on skin ones. These are one of the things that I did want you to have a go at. In fact, it does say for the facial thing that it would be a good idea to try like an on-skin setup for controllers. I mean, these aren't quite touching the skin, but they're kind of separate to these controller type things. So that's excellent. I like that movement. Okay, so interesting that you've got a separate head tilt control. I mean, you could have set that up just with something above the head. So almost like, I don't know, I've seen it done before with like a series of kind of almost like compass points, four-way arrow type things, where you can click and just you can rotate them all around, and it would be, you know, side to side, forwards and backwards. But that said, you know, head tilt control, it functions, it works. Whether an animator would make use of that, I don't know. I think they'll be more likely to want to have a control on the surface of the character. Right, so you got your separate controls there, which is good. So that function, that proves that they all work. Great. This shape editor really is it's a neat bit of kit, really. Having used other bits of software like 3D Max and so on, they don't do it in quite the same way. They do it, it functions, but I'm just not sure it's quite as tidy and neat as that shape editor. And also, you know, the way you can set up corrective morph targets or corrective blend shapes and set drooping keys, I think is a great thing in Maya. You've made good use of it there. Okay, so I'll pause the video there because it's running through again. So generally speaking, I think this one again is also very, very good. I don't think it goes into the excellent range purely just because there's some tidying up that needs to be done with this. There's a few rough edges in places, particularly kind of the mouth. That's a bit of a disappointment to me, given that you've put all the effort into everything else. I think just the mouth element, just the shape of the mouth, kind of lets it down a bit because it's a real fundamental of this. One of the main things was to get the jaw and the mouth moving correctly. And I don't think that would be too difficult for you to fix. It's just about playing around with the weights, or if this is indeed morph target based, it's about just having a look at your blend shapes, your morph targets, and saying, well, actually that the one it's leaning towards, it's blending towards, is not quite set up correctly. I think that would have been a good fix there, but I think it's very close to being, at the top end of very good anyway. Okay, anyway. Everything else is looking good there, so we will pause that there, just minimize it. Now this is your R&D document. Don't worry about this weird grey kind of yellow colour that's happened here. That's to do with my current screen display. I've got it set up for another project I'm working on, so that's not on you, that's fine. Okay, so first thing is I've looked through this more extensively than the scroll I'm going to do now through it, so don't be thinking it's the first time I've looked at it or any of that kind of stuff. It isn't. And first of all, I think it's very, very good, and there's some excellent elements in this. I like the fact that it's much more than just a screen dump. You've been reflective throughout. You've looked at some good sections. You looked beyond just the underlying elements, and really have considered doing further research, software type research, human anatomy type research as well, which I think is good. I like the fact again that being reflective throughout this. That makes a big difference. This is the kind of document that you can come back to in future years, should you ever want to revisit character rigging, character development things. And you did say in there that some elements of this you actually quite enjoyed, which is good. I'm pleased with that, because it can be arduous, it can be as technical as it is creative, so it can be a tricky one. So I'm pleased you enjoyed it. So you might want to come back, you might want to do some more rigging, and you've got a document here which is a bit of a guide to anybody who would want to do some more rigging. So it's a good guide for you as well. Okay, so again, good use of video clips working through here. I'm pleased that you know, again, you use lots of visuals and textual information as you've gone through there. You've been critical. You've tried different things out and commented on it. I'm also pleased at the end that you're quite critical and saying, you know, whilst you've enjoyed it and while you think it's actually reasonably successful, you might do things differently next time, or here's what I would change next time. So again, it's good stuff. See, the facial rig stuff again is good, and what's interesting, you have made use of visuals, but I'm not sure how well they've made it into particularly the mouth area. I don't want to keep going on about that, but I think it's one of those areas that you could have done a slightly better job of. I mean, look at this. It doesn't look like that mouth shape. You see the very clear dip, top lip, and a rise of the bottom lip there. So that's something you could have fixed, I think. This stuff, I think, again, is useful because, as you can see, as that pulls across, there's a very definite tug down of this side to be able to bring this across. So this is all stuff that should make it into your sequence. Good that you set limits. Your blink was good, although I think it seemed a little bit jaggedy around the eyelid, but I couldn't really tell because we didn't get too up close. Yeah, it is there. Yeah. But again, it functions. Technically speaking, it all works well. You've done a good job of it. Now I'm just going to skip slightly towards the end because there's a comment I wanted to make towards the end. And that was all this reflection stuff. A lot of people have just, well, I say a lot of people, but some people, let's say, have just done the trick of, let's say, I know I'm supposed to do this, I'll do it at the end, do a few screenshots, dump them in a document, show a few pictures of people, this is how it should have been done. It's very clear that none of that has impacted or informed on their actual work. Yours, it's very clear that it has, because you've clearly done it throughout. It seems that way to me anyway. Okay, and this reflection is very, very good. So I'm pleased that you've considered the process. You've said how you do things differently next time, how you felt like you lost some time in doing things, in future do it a different way and so on. So that's very, very good. I mean, this section I think is excellent, the R&D stuff. Okay, so to summarise, I think there's some excellent work there. There's some bits which, you know, could do with some polish, some improvement and things, but it's pleasing to me that throughout the module you worked very hard on this. There's no question about that. I'm really pleased with your commitment to the module. So overall, Jack, well done. Nice one.